Well, my Carolina Disaster Cats are officially in a full-fledged free fall after losing to the Detroit Lions and moving to 0-5 still early in this young NFL season. So in this video, I'm going to do as I do after each and every game and provide you all with a few awards for some performances that I saw put forth out there on the field. And we're going to get into all of that right after this.
I'm from the foe, you dig?
Welcome to The Way I See It with Jamario Rashad. This is a Carolina Panthers fan channel. Please do me a favor by hitting the like button and please make sure you subscribe as I am on my road to 3K, trying to make sure my channel continues to grow as this season plays out as poorly as it has been playing out. Now that that's all out of the way, let's go ahead and get to these awards. Now, first up, I'm not even going to get too emotional behind this because this man is a repeat offender. Everybody knows how I feel about him. I've had a few days to sleep on this. I've watched the all 22 back. I've watched the highlights. I've watched that bullshit time and time again, and there is no excuses to be made. So winning his third or fourth consecutive "you should have stayed your ass in the locker room" award, Miles Sanders. This guy, as I mentioned last week, is just proving to be absolutely ass and arguably the worst off-season signing of any team that I can think of. Even though I mainly focus on the Panthers, I can't think of any bigger waste of money that I heard about throughout the league than what Miles Sanders has been through 5 seasons or through 5 games in the NFL. So just this week, Miles Sanders had 7 carries for 32 yards. Continues to make the case, as I mentioned, for being the absolute worst signing of this offseason. His ball carrier vision as a running back is some of the worst BS I have ever seen in my life. I'm pretty sure you all have seen that clip floating around of there being a huge gaping hole on a cutback, on a counter run that Miles Sanders had the ability to potentially cut up field and get like 15-20 yards if he just had the vision to just slightly tilt his head to the left and just like barrel his little ass into the back of the offensive lineman, just like blindly following the blocks. And like there's no excuses for him being able to do that. It got so bad, it continues to get so bad that Miles Sanders, I don't give a damn what anybody says, is the sole reason for the momentum that the Carolina Panthers were just simply starting to build in the first half. Immediately went away. Yes, we went down 14-0 early, but what did? We stormed back, we scored, and we were going back down the field again. It looked like we were potentially going to make this a game before halftime. Might have tied it up, maybe only come away with 3 points. But what happened? Miles Sanders' little ass fumbled again on the opponent's side of the ball, giving them a short field, and immediately we go down 21-7, and then everything is just a snowball after that. We get another turnover, all the momentum is lost, and then that is what it took for Miles Sanders to get his little shitty self in the doghouse. This was the first game of the year that Chuba Hubbard or any other back actually finished the game with more carries than Miles Sanders, but that is warranted. There's no reason why this guy continues to just get on the field and shit it up the way that he does. That fumble, just like it did in I believe week 2 or week 3, cost us all the momentum, all that we had worked for on that drive, and all the little that we can be hoped for, all the optimism that this terrible ass team has. It immediately gets lost when Miles Sanders fumbles and puts the ball on the goddamn field. So for that reason, Miles Sanders, for the 4th, 5th, umpteenth goddamn time, you, sir, should have stayed your ass in the locker room. Congratulations. Booby some shit, boy. Booby Miles is some ass. Waste of a good nickname. I don't give a damn what nobody says. So now we move into the next player that I have let this man slide for 5 weeks now, thinking that maybe it's just something that I'm not seeing in the box score. Maybe it's just, maybe he's doing something that I need to focus in on the all 22 to see just what this man's impact has been. And I can say that it has not been shit compared to what I thought it was going to be. So winning his first "you should have stayed your ass in the locker room" award, veteran Justin Houston. Now, For like small caveat, this award could have went to the entire D-line this week. The entire D-line was some ass. There was no pass rush pressure from anybody. But Burns was the only one that got a sack, so he is like immune to getting any criticism this week. But going all the way back into the offseason, like all the way, well, not even into the offseason, because this guy only showed up midway through training camp, didn't participate in the preseason, and only just decided to step on the field at the beginning of the year because he is an experienced veteran, which I expect, like which I respect, but he has done next to absolutely nothing for the Carolina Panthers this year, especially in this game. Justin Houston's snaps week by week have progressively been getting lower and lower, and one of the most damning things that I can say about this potential future Hall of Famer is that he has 1,000% been outplayed by the likes of Yetur Gross-Matos. There is no other way, shape, or form to say it. Justin Houston is beyond his prime. He is beyond almost being serviceable, and at this point, he is not as bad as Miles Sanders in terms of being a waste, because this is a veteran coming in on a one-year contract. But for what we expected, for what was put in our ear, for what the highlights told us, 9.5 sacks for the Baltimore Ravens last year, not even starting in 14 games, only starting one. We have not seen Justin Houston do a damn thing. 5 weeks into the season, as it stands today, he has less sacks than CJ Henderson. Now, that is something that is just completely unacceptable for somebody that you brought in that convinced me and the rest of Panthers Nation that we had a more than serviceable guy that was going to be able to push the pile and get to the quarterback opposite of Brian Burns. And Justin Houston hasn't done anything like that. He has 1,000%, like I said, been outplayed by Yetur Gross-Matos, and he currently 5 games into the season as the primary starter has a half of a sack. So for that reason, veteran Justin Houston, sir, you should have stayed your ass in the locker room. Kinger. I don't know what to say, man. This guy has been a disappointment. I've let it ride because I thought it was potentially something that I wasn't seeing, but Justin Houston has not been the guy that we expected him to be. We can now, I believe it's not even halfway into the season, but what he has been able to put on film so far, I believe that last year at such an advanced age in his career was probably just an anomaly. Playing on a defense that was down a few players, so he had a few more opportunities, was used as a specialist and took advantage of those opportunities. Unfortunately, he has not been able to do none of that shit here, so that is why Justin Houston, unfortunately, has to go on this list. So now we move into the most frequent offender. You all knew that I wasn't going to let his ass slide. You know exactly who I'm talking about. So for the fifth consecutive week in a row, head coach Frank Reich, you should have stayed your ass in the locker room, sir. I don't understand how you have been around these players. You have been around these guys. You have been forging these relationships for months at a time. But when time comes for everybody to get out there on the field, put all that has been practiced, all that has been preached, all of that concoction into the game plan, and go out there and you know, make some wins come to fruition, or just make some adequate play come to fruition, your ass, it's just clear that you have no idea or no understanding of your personnel whatsoever, and this game was yet another glowing example of that. Why do I say that? First of all, I don't give a damn in any fucking situation. There is no reason under the sun ever to call a screen pass to Ian Thomas, the worst tight end that we have on the roster, the worst overpaid guy that we chose to extend over these past off seasons. He is just a terrible tight end that is specifically on this roster, on that line, in the game to be a blocker. No competent offensive mind would call up a quick screen to an ass tight end and just put the ball in harm's way, not opposite of the side of a potential all-pro pass rusher in Aiden Hutchinson. Nah, let's just try him. Let's throw it right to his side, to the assest player that we possibly can think of. What the fuck are you thinking about, Frank Reich? What the hell are you doing, Frank Reich? And again, as I mentioned on the Miles Sanders point, why does it take his little ass going out there coughing up a fumble and costing us all of the fucking momentum that we worked so hard for you to realize that he is not good for this offense? For Laviska Shenault to finally get over one or two bullshit ass trick play carries, actually to line him up in the backfield, allow him to run. He is a power back. Every time Laviska Shenault gets the ball in his hands, usually 9 times out of 10, good things happen, and he damn near averages over 5 yards a carry himself, and damn near like over 7 yards per touch when you finally allow for him to get the ball. But you just favor little Miles Sanders and his little wannabe Tupac ass nose ring for no fucking reason when we have better backs on the field. We have better backs on the team. We signed Tariq Cohen. Raheem Blackshear has been inactive for 5 weeks straight while you continue to let Miles Sanders go out there and just shit it up on the field. And something that happened after the game, but it still pertains to this game, is something that I never thought that I would hear a competent or a wannabe, supposed to be competent head coach admit into a microphone when asked in the press conference post-game after this ass whooping why Terrace Marshall Jr. did not get any snaps after the previous week where he was the most targeted player, had the most receptions with 9, the most of his career probably up until this point. Frank Reich just looked everybody in their eyes and just said, I honestly didn't even realize that he didn't get in the game. He admitted that he had a one-on-one conversation with Terrace Marshall prior to this week, ensuring him that despite Jonathan Mingo coming back from concussion protocol, what he has shown, all the hard work that he has been putting forth ever since the offseason would not go unseen. And then the very next week, he goes back on his word and the guy doesn't even get a single fucking snap. And he says, oh my God, I'll take it. I'll take accountability for that. That's on me. He should have played. I should have told. You're the fucking head coach. You're the offensive coordinator by proxy, by force, by whatever the hell it is. You are the one responsible for calling the fucking plays as well as the personnel. So how can you forget that you have this guy that showed, like, basically was our best receiver last week? How the fuck could you forget to put him in the game? That's just complete incompetence. That's just showing that you are completely out of your wits. This shit is not for you, and you are yet another mistake by David Tepper. And I am so tired of you crawling your old ass to this podium and choosing to feel as though because you take accountability, we as the fans are supposed to excuse you for shit. Yes, we like the fact, I can respect the fact that you're willing to say, yeah, that's on me. I made a mistake. I made this error. This issue was because of me. But we are 5 weeks into the season, and 5 times you have marched your ass out there after these games just to take accountability for shit that you don't fix. Accountability doesn't mean nothing if there isn't action to fix what you needed to be accountable for. So you going out there and say, yeah, that's my bad, doesn't do nothing but make me turn my nose up at your shitty ass coaching more so than I already have, because it's not proving to change anything. I don't know what you're saying to these players, and I refuse to believe that you still have the ear of the locker room. So for that reason, for the 5th consecutive week, head coach Frank Reich, you, sir, should have stayed your ass in the locker room. Congratulations. All that good stuff, man. All that good stuff. Yeah, man, my disaster cats are ass. We are buns. Like, disaster shit, man. Disaster shit. But even with that being the case, you know I always try to highlight whatever the shining light through all of this darkness that we have faced through 5 weeks that doesn't look like it's going to be changing now that we're going against the Miami Dolphins next week. The shining light in this game is somebody that I have to take accountability for not giving this guy more praise, as he has been the only consistent player that has been putting up like not even just good, but like excellent numbers while we continue to be on this, as I said, free fall pretty much like for the foreseen future. That being, Adam Thielen is the sole recipient of this week's Baller Award, the Old Dog Still Got Bite Award. Adam Thielen, 11 catches, 107 yards. This is his second 100-yard game in the past 3 games. He has been absolutely showing out, and something that I did not even expect out of Adam Thielen, although I did expect for him to be the number 1. That was said on Wax. You can go back and check my videos prior to the season. I thought that Adam Thielen, with his experience, with his route running ability, and just everything that he brings to the game, he would be like the number 1 receiver because of his skill set. But what I have been so impressed with Adam Thielen is his demeanor on the field, and I didn't know that Thielen had this level of dog in him. He is one of the only offensive players that I could say visibly wants to win. That isn't a diss to anybody, because I know these are professionals that go out there, put their body on the line, and nobody wants to lose, and everybody is working together in tandem to try to win. But the demonstrative nature, the demonstrative things that I've seen Adam Thielen do over the last couple of weeks is just something that I have not seen from him in my experiences prior to this season of watching Adam Thielen, and it's also something that I didn't expect. But his attitude that he has been displaying on the field while going out there and busting these young cats' asses has just been something that I would like, that I've been marveling at, that I truly appreciate, because I believe that is an attitude that if the rest of the team embodied, we wouldn't be going out there and getting our asses embarrassed like this week after week after week, just like we have. And he has been so consistent that other teams have started to take note of this. I'm pretty sure that he's been game planned for. You can see the double teams on the all 22. You can see the attention that he is drawing, so much so this week that Jonathan Mingo was able to see a lot of one-on-one coverage, a lot of opportunities because of so much attention being shown to Thielen, that Jonathan Mingo was actually able to have the best game of his young career because of what Adam Thielen has been able to accomplish on the other side of the field. So for that reason, man, you know I always got to give a shout out to the positivity. So this week's Baller Award winner, Adam Thielen, winning the Old Dog Still Got Bite Award. Go get him, young man. Go get him. Adam, man, I ain't mad at you at all, but that hating, let's move on. I don't discuss other YouTubers. Let's move on. So finally, man, this one I can't necessarily consider a positive or a negative, just a retrospective view of how I felt about this guy so far. But we're gonna condense my opinion or my my observations to just this game, because this is a week 5 video. So winning the first ever inaugural Seesaw Award, we have quarterback Bryce Young. Now, why do I say, or why did I deem this the Seesaw Award? Because I myself, if you go and check my timeline on Twitter, said this was the game that I was the most openly critical of decisions that Bryce Young made. I have been very critical of the coaching over the first couple of weeks, but there were a few occasions throughout this game where I was just like, that's not coaching. That's just ineffectiveness on our quarterback. But at the same time, those plays are few and far between where you can just say that, oh, that's a huge mistake, or he should have did that, but in between all of that, he will just show you all of the electricity, all of the excitement, and all of the potential that we expected for the number 1 overall pick to have. So at the end of the game, it leads for me to be a little unsure of how I feel about his performances week to week, because as a rookie, I can't acknowledge that he has progressed. He is progressing, and this probably was his best game of the season. But he also made mistakes that I thought that he wouldn't even make prior to coming to the NFL. So just to talk about Bryce a little bit more, and what I mean about being like the seesaw, just on the good, he constantly goes out there and he shows the promise. As I mentioned, you see the electric plays, you see the demeanor, you see that he can rattle off over 10 completions in a row if you allow him to get into a rhythm. But the mistakes that he makes are something that myself and other people question more so than the average rookie, because those are mistakes that, according to his draft profile and everybody that talked about Bryce and still does talk about Bryce to this day, would have us believe though those are mistakes that he just simply wouldn't make. The thing and the word that has always been the buzzword with Bryce Young is processing, processing, processing. It's all mental. He's all cerebral. It's all done it's all done in the head. So when I see Bryce Young when he goes out there and he has those 2 interceptions, it's hard for me to say that that's bad coaching or that's on the play call. Why do I say that? Now let's just walk through the 2 interceptions. The first being a freak play that 9 times out of 10 wouldn't be intercepted, but as I mentioned, the screenplay pass to Ian Thomas that was intercepted by Aiden Hutchinson. Like, Bryce Young should have had the awareness in that situation to dirt the ball and not have any catastrophic outcomes. Simply, like, you recognize that it's over early. Don't put yourself or the ball in harm's way. Why does this particular situation irk me so much? Well, I think back to last week when we played the Vikings, where Bryce Young took a totally unnecessary hit that should have been unsportsmanlike conduct, should have been roughing the passer, should have been some type of penalty. But at the same time, Bryce Young hiked the ball, the play was dead, and he held on to the ball when he should have dirted the ball and alerted anybody that was running at him that the play was dead and he was to not be trifled with. This is the second week in a row where Bryce Young should have just went ahead and deaded the play, where he tried to do a little bit too much and it had catastrophic results on the other end. So that is why I can't excuse this, although that is a freak interception. Come on, like, the processing is what I have come to know you for. That is what I've been convinced. That is what I was sold on Bryce Young about. So I expect for him to, although him being a young player, I don't expect for him to make the same mistakes more than once. So let's move on excuse me, to the second interception. That was just one of Bryce Young not having the vision or not having the knowledge or just over analyzing the coverage and just assuming that he can outdo the defensive coordinator or just outsmart defensive players that have been in the league longer than he had. He saw that he felt that he had an open read on an outside slant by Jonathan Mingo without even looking to the flat to see that there was an underneath defender there that could easily just fall back into that zone and intercept the ball. Those are things that I expect for Bryce to be able to identify pre-snap and know that that is a possibility because of the preparation, because of the film work, because of all of the studying that he is so applauded for doing. So when he makes these mistakes, they are head scratching because these are things that I was sold on Bryce Young not like just already being passed. Him not needing to experience there be trials and tribulations or have the growing pains of mental errors. Of course, we knew about his physical limitations with his size and everything else, but anything else that had to do with Bryce Young was supposed to be a solid 10 out of 10, and so far that hasn't necessarily been the case. And I believe the coaching staff, because so much was said about his processing, the ability for him to be a quarterback, to make all of these decisions, I believe that they have opened up the playbook for him pre-snap a little bit too often. This is just me piggybacking off of a comment that I heard Panthers legend Steve Smith make on his podcast just the other day. They are doing a little bit too much pre-snap. Bryce is trying to analyze too much. He's trying to check their checks, and the time and the play clock oftentimes runs down to damn near zero. We oftentimes waste a lot of timeouts, and it's just not a lot of good procedural football. We get behind the chains. We have a lot of pre-snap penalties because we can't just get into the play and execute it. This is not college. Bryce Young is not going against Cincinnati, and he and Bill O'Brien can't just outthink and outmaneuver everybody because this is on a higher level. And just because he was able to do that at Bama, I believe that the coaching staff expects for him to just immediately be able to come out the wrapper and be just a super processor just immediately. That so far has not been the case in this game, and those 2 interceptions were just yet another indication of why I feel that way. Now, that's just one side of the thinking. All of that can happen on one side of the equation. But what we can't ignore, that over 50% of the time, Bryce Young looks absolutely electric and everything that we expected from him. You see the off-platform throws. You see the pre-snap ability because you see the quick decision making. You see the audibles. You see the checks. Although I may have alluded to them as happening too much, the simple fact that he is able to do them effectively is a positive. Although it doesn't work out all of the time. So Bryce Young, even with there being no threat of the play action, with Miles Sanders not being a threat at all, he is still able to have time in the pocket, make decisions, quickly process and get the ball out of his hands. Even like as I mentioned, without the deception of a play fake, man, he is still able to be like beastly out there. The accuracy is absolutely unquestioned, as you saw him have an absolute dime to Tommy Tremble in the end zone that would have been his second touchdown of the day that was dropped. That opportunity should have been going to Hayden Hurst, which is just another detriment on Frank Reich. Ain't shit ass, but we're talking about Bryce Young now. But Bryce Young's accuracy is on display each and every time. But then you'll see a super accurate pass zipped across the field, but then you'll see just like a little lollipop throw that barely makes it past the line of scrimmage. So it is just constant ups and downs. But in my opinion, I believe that Bryce Young has been more up than he has been down. He could not, as a rookie, overcome the deficiencies that this offense has, specifically at the wide receiver position. Although that has been getting better, Adam Thielen has been improving. We don't just have guys that can go out there and just, call their own shot and just get open consistently, aside from Thielen and occasionally DJ Chark, who is still apparently recovering from yet another injury that he suffered earlier in this season, but he has been coming along nicely as well. But for all of those reasons, man, I know I went on about Bryce for a little while, man, but like I said, I see a lot of good. I see the negativity. I understand it, man, but the escapability, the processing, the throwing, all of that stuff, it's there, man. It's there, man. I get why people are starting to question it, but it is his rookie season. Give him some time, and I'm pretty sure that this will change and this team will progress. Not this year. We some shit this year. We are gonna be ass. Ain't no playoffs. Ain't no first round pick. Ain't no hope for nothing. It ain't nothing but go out there and learn on the fly, or either take. Anyway, man, for all of those reasons, Bryce Young is the first inaugural recipient of the Seesaw Award. Congratulations. Alright, man, my bad. I did not mean to make this video this long, man. I appreciate y'all if you made it this far. I'm almost 30 minutes into this thing, did not even realize that I have just the disaster cast, man. What can I say, man? But whatever you all think about these awards, if there was somebody else that was more deserving, somebody else that should have stayed their ass in the locker room, somebody else that balled out that maybe didn't get the praise that they deserve, or what do you think about Bryce Young's play overall? Because I'm pretty sure that's what most people are interested in. Anyway, how do you feel as though Bryce Young has played? Do you feel as though what we've seen from him should be viewed as discouraging, or is there some things to be very optimistic about? Do you like what you see? 3-2 touchdown to interception ratio in this game particular, but over 240 yards. Whatever you all think about Bryce Young's performance or any other person that I mentioned in this video, please do me a favor by leaving your comments down in the comment section, and I will be sure to chop it up with you then. But until next time, I am Jamario Rashad. This is the way I see it, and I'm out. Peace.